Hello, and thank you for joining us here on this live broadcast for the Meridian Branch of the CWU. Today, we're going to be talking, or give you all an update on where we are with the Pay Ballot, what's going to be coming up in the next few days. We have with us Nick Darbyshire from the CWU, Dave Stewart, and we also have Michelle Bailey. And Michelle works primarily on consumer, I do believe. Dave Stewart does a lot of stuff on pensions, so he's your man. And we also have Dave Booker as well, our secretary. And we would like to I'll pass you over to him to give you a few words. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Martin. I don't know what happened just then. I disappeared off the thing. It cut out. So hopefully that won't happen again. But you never know. So apologies if it does. Anyway, welcome everyone. I don't know how many people are going to be on tonight, but we obviously thought it was important that we had a meeting. It's difficult in these times still to actually get face-to-face meetings and obviously to engage with as many people as possible in the same place. We thought this was obviously going to be the best way still. So hopefully we've got quite a few people on and you will ask questions because we've had quite a few people raising some issues, obviously concerned. It's a stressful time for everyone. So thankfully we've got 3 people from headquarters here tonight. So we're really grateful for them to have made time to come on. So please take the opportunity to ask as many questions as you can. Obviously the ballot opens on Wednesday, so we're nearly there. But any concerns you've got, any issues you need to ask, now's the time, and hopefully we can move forward on that. So so let's hope it's a good meeting. But thanks everyone for attending. So I think what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to get Nick to sort of set the scene of where we basically are, and we'll take it on from there. We'll get the questions after that. So if I hand over to Nick then.
Hello there, thanks for inviting me. It's always very disconcerting when you looking at yourself speak when you're speaking, but I'll try and get over that. This is quite a moment, I think, in terms of the history of this trade union and the sort of relationship we've had with the company, particularly British Telecom, over the last 20 years or so. Is facing an enormous challenge because we're going down a road I think that we were always going to go down, and in many respects you could say since privatisation we've got away with it in terms of the kinds of changes that have been experienced elsewhere. But it's going to be such an important thing for you to do this week, and that is to vote in the industrial action ballot. It means the kind of future that will be determined by how that vote goes. And things have been in a good state for some time now in terms of the kind of engagement we have with the company. And if we don't have that engagement, unfortunately, it's very hard to progress anything at all. And the imposition of pay is something that we've not experienced before in terms of the last 20 years. You look at all the pay deals, reasonable pay deals, I think, negotiated pay deals that were agreed with the membership of this trade union. But on this occasion is not happening because of the imposition of the $1.5 grand. And if we're going to get over that and also, in a sense, avoid a dispute, the 2 most important things in this ballot is having a very high turnout and a big yes vote. And we have had smaller disputes whereby that has been achieved. I remember the media and broadcast dispute, and that was the transportable earth stations that used to broadcast Premiership football and other things. And there we got a very high turnout and a very big yes vote. And the result of that was the company crumbled in the face of that. I mean, that was a bit different to this dispute, because this dispute in scale terms is huge. We're talking about balloting of 41,000 people in EE, BT and Openreach. But if we don't ballot, the future is very bleak indeed, I think, because there's nowhere else to go. As I say, we've managed through, I think, over the last 20 years in terms of pay and various other things, the kind of industrial relations we've had pretty good, because you think of how many disputes there's been hardly any at all. The last time we had a huge dispute was it 1986, 1987. There was a 2-year pay deal there, we got 12%. That's a long time ago. But that's sort of come to an end. And as I said earlier, that's what you expect to happen. I've always expected it to happen at some point. That the kind of people you have on the board now are not the kind of people that used to be on the board. And their attitude about things is entirely different, and at the moment they don't seem to really grasp how serious the situation is. But what we've got to do is make sure we get, as I say, very simple. We need to find a post box, get hold of that ballot paper, and vote yes. The kind of dispute with like of course is most probably 1 day. I mean, I can't really comment on that at all, because at the moment, until we've resolved the issue of engagement and have a discussion, if somebody won't talk to us, we can't actually. It's pointless talking about this, the kind of pay rise that we want. What we've got to get through to them is that we want effective industrial relations, a fruitful relationship that will take us forward. But at the moment, we've got nowhere to go. And industrial muscle is the only meaningful thing. And if you don't have that industrial muscle, and it's got flabby perhaps, then we've got to change that, because even when all the great negotiations, you're going to be the greatest negotiator, but if you don't do it from a position of strength, when the company knows that behind the people doing the negotiations have the full and solid support of all the members of this trade union, they will take the piss, I'm afraid, and they are at the moment, and that's got to change. And as I say, mad, crazy, left-wing trade union. We've worked with this company through the pandemic, through many difficult economic problems over the years, and we've resolved them together for the better of everybody, for the business and our members of this trade union. But at the moment, that is not possible. So, for goodness sakes, vote yes, encourage other people to vote yes, and make sure you vote. And not voting is not an option either, because if we go below 50%, remember the other thing we've got to face up to and deal with are the trade union laws, or the anti-trade union laws. And they made it very, very hard for us in terms of the information you have to provide for ballots, the timetable you have for ballots, and everything else. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, of course, if we do end up in the High Court, but we've done everything we possibly can to get the data right for this ballot. We're extremely hard to make sure that is not one of the places that we're going to fall down when they try and take us to the High Court, which they inevitably will. So please give that an awful lot of serious thought. I've difficult. I'll just say one thing to you. I do have difficulty in trying to express myself at times because I've got Parkinson's disease. So you just have to put up with my sort of stammering and stuttering at times. But I don't really care. I just hope I've got through that message today, that this is not just about pay, but it's about the kind of relationship that we're going to have with the company over the coming years that we've enjoyed in the past. So as I say, find out where your post box is, put the X in the right box, vote yes, and then if we get the big turnout and the big yes vote, we're less likely, I think, to actually have to go on strike. But that's not 100%, of course. And when we do go on strike, not that we need to touch too much on this today, we're going to have to find the maximum problem it's going to cause for them and the least problems it's going to cause for us. So I'll shut up now, and if you have any questions, fire away.
Thank you, Nick. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll open it up to Michelle and Dave. If one of you wants to mention anything. Hopefully, Michelle.
Yeah, no, I'll just come in. Good evening, everyone. Michelle Bailey from the TNFS Executive. I'd just like to add to what Nick said, and is for all of you members to remember, we are the union. It's not just us, it's everybody. So it's important that you understand the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. It's to better terms and conditions. It's to better relationships with the organisation that ultimately we all work for, and to make sure that we get decent pay rises and we go back to the way of how pay should be negotiated. So it's very important that everybody takes place. You show due consideration when those ballot papers hit your door, and get them back as soon as possible. And let us all stand together in solidarity and to show the company that we mean business.
Thank you, Michelle. We are seeing some comments that are coming in, and thank you for those. Thank you to Tom Murray, who's making a contribution tonight. If you do want to mention anything, just message us on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll bring the messages up. Let us know where you're listening from, please, and your support for this. We truly welcome. Hopefully, Dave, if you can hear us, Dave. I know Dave's been having issues with his sound. Dave, do you want to mention a few words?
You should say Dave Stewart, that is.
Dave Stewart.
There's two Daves tonight. I don't know if you can hear us. I don't think he can hear us. Can you hear us, Dave? You're on mute.
Sorry, I can hear you, Dave, and apart from Michelle, that's the only thing I've heard so far. So if there's a question or something for me to add in, I do apologise. I've not heard.
Hopefully there's... Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, hoping everyone else can hear, but maybe it's just Dave that's having some problems.
Hopefully
there.
It's just me.
Hopefully, everyone else can hear. But no, what we're saying, Dave, is just that obviously Nick opened it up. Michelle's just know if you want to sort of make any contribution about just on the opening comments, opening remarks about where we are and where we're going from this.
Yeah,
I know,
thanks.
obviously, you haven't heard what everyone else has said, so I just wanted to make a couple of brief comments or whatever. Or
I'll apologise.
The first question that we got.
Whatever, I'll do
it.
It might well do, but yeah, and I'll apologise to Nick if I repeat anything that he said, or as I caught Michelle's, but yeah, we are where we are, as people often say, and as you probably gathered, we've got two things that this vote is about. Yes, it's about the pay, but it's about the imposition of an unagreed amount of pay at present. Everybody assumes that we go and we negotiate with the company or companies, wherever they are, and it all ends up with if you like, a handshake across the table and that kind of thing, and we get to a point. And that's clearly not, what's clearly not happened this time at all. It's been imposed, and that's what we've got to protect ourselves against. That's why we're asking for everybody's support. Having something forced upon us, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and clearly this is not good. It's not something that we are happy with in the slightest. So I'll leave it there. As I say, I don't know what's been covered already. So if you want to move to the first questions, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Martin, did you want to?
Yeah, I'll go through the first questions. So people have been writing into to the branch, and they're saying that they can't afford to strike. I suppose I'd like to put it out to the team what their position is to when people say that they can't afford to strike. If I give that to Michelle.
Well, from my position, we can't afford not to strike if it gets to that situation. I would say seriously, we're all in the same position in terms of we can't afford with the living crisis of what's going on. So a day's pay is worth a big deal later on in the future. So if you're thinking about the now, this is going to better our position in the future when we have further pay negotiations. So I would really seriously, I know things are tough out there for everybody. Everyone's feeling the pinch with this living crisis. We've gone through COVID crisis and now we're being asked to do something. But I strongly believe I would rather go without and sacrifice something if it gets to the need that I have to strike. And I'm prepared to do that. And I will make those sacrifices and give up something to support everybody so that it betters our terms and conditions down the future so we can have proper pay negotiations and proper pay rises in the future. So that's my stance on why I think everybody should really consider that they can afford to strike if they really, plan and position things if we get to that stage.
Thank you, Michelle. I've got another comment. There's a myth going around about the strike, and the company saying that some people can't. We've heard this plenty of times. So, if somebody would like to take that question on, please, Dave.
Yep, I can hear everybody now, so we're back on live, as it were, from my point of view. This is something that we're hearing from various places. Managers are approaching people, suggesting that, what do you hope to achieve by this? You shouldn't be voting for the strike. There's no more money. You're not going to get anything anyway. And what we'd like to be very clear on at this point is we want to know any managers who are speaking to individuals or groups of individuals in particular. That's so much better, because they shouldn't be doing. And when I say shouldn't be doing, it's not something that they, that BT don't like. It's unlawful for them to try and influence the outcome of the ballot. It's down to the individuals. They're being asked to vote. They're being told what it's about. People are on here tonight and getting more information. They should clearly know when they vote what it is they're voting for and why. It's not down to other people who are not involved with this to be trying to influence them one way or another. So if we get information as to who is doing this, where and when, that would be very, very interesting. As to the particular types of people who can and can't vote, well, we know who's going to vote. They're going to get a form to vote on. But as to whether you can take action, any of our members can take action. I mean, it's lamentable, clearly, if we've got people who are not members, but they, like anybody else who's in our collectively bargaining unit, as it were, and we represent all of the grades within the company, all of them can legally take action, whether they are a member or not. The company has no right to ask who's a member. They can all come out. So if you do know somebody who's not a member, and they're saying, well, I can't, I can't, so I'd like to support you, but I can't, I'm not a member. Well, they're wrong. Of course they can. So there's also a suggestion. I don't know if it rolls into something that we heard about with apprentices, and I think Michelle, you were talking about the apprentice situation. Do you want to just pick up on that?
Yeah, so apprentices, if there's anybody out there and managers are trying to deter you, then as Dave said, please report them. Everyone that is a member of this union and is entitled to vote will receive a ballot paper. If for any reason you do not receive one, please don't leave it too long after, but certainly it opens up from the 15th. I would give it 5 working days. And if you feel that you should have had a ballot paper and you haven't, please chase up your branch, make some inquiries, because we wouldn't want anyone that is entitled to ballot to be missed out. So you are entitled, if you're a member, you will be getting that ballot paper, and please vote yes and get it straight back in the post box. If you're an apprentice and you're a member of this union, you will be receiving a ballot paper.
Thank you, Michelle. I've got some questions coming in. I'll put this one up on here. Good evening to Jack Mundy. He says, the strike is the last resort. What does the CW have planned following a yes vote result? What's the first industrial action tactic of strike? Is that the last resort? Anybody?
Lead on, Michelle. Your mouth's open.
I would just like to say that at this stage, because this is a live event and people can be watching, now's not the time to be revealing our plan. The most important thing at this stage is to get that vote in. We will be informing everybody via the usual methods of communications. And it's confidential that we send it direct to members. So now is not the time to really get into the nitty-gritty of what we've got planned for obvious reasons. But certainly there is a lot planned, and you will know what's going on. Just keep reading your emails, checking your texts, getting in touch with your branches, and just be aware that come that date when we reveal the ballot results, action will be taken.
Thank you, Michelle. What we have, we don't have any more questions at the moment. So what I can do, we do have.
There was a couple, Martin. We did have a couple.
My apologies. Oh right, my apologies. Yes, I've got some here. Loads. There are people asking what sort of percentage we're going for. So just a bit of clarification on the.
We have touched on it, but yeah, it might be worth just emphasising. Yeah.
Would you answer that?
Yes, please, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, there's several. I mean, there's how much pay, what our pay claim is going to be. There's mention of the sort of tactics that we're going to have, and a lot of these are unanswerable at the moment until we've sorted out that ballot. But if we're going to have any action, industrial action, the kind of industrial action we're going to have is going to be most effective that we can possibly devise in terms of the problems it would give the company and the least problems it would give us. And we have to be clever and tactical about what we will do. I might speculate momentarily, I shouldn't do, and so on and so forth, but the likelihood is most probably one-day disputes over a period of time. And of course, we'd have to look at that in the 3 parts of the business as well, Openreach, EE and BT, and in terms of, working out what the most effective thing we could possibly do. But to repeat ourselves again, until we've got that relationship back on track, and in terms of one of the questions mentioned about once we've got the big yes vote, what happens then? Well, you would hope that they would start to realise that we're in terms of how successful and effective this business is going to be, it will not be done without the workforce. That's you. And what we, as others have said, it will dawn upon them to get round the table again and get back to good industrial relations an effective relationship that makes this company, or the three entities in this ballot, successful for the likes, our very rich CEO that we have, who's worth an absolute fortune, the shareholders, and very importantly, because the shareholders and Philip Jansen will not be successful without us. We are the most important ingredient of all in terms of the success and future. So that's what we've got to be looking at. But before we get to those places, to be boringly repetitive, you just find those red post boxes, and put your X in the yes bit. Please, I implore you.
Thank you, Nick. We've had a question coming from Lisa Such. Now, Lisa is from our consumer team in Canterbury. So I'm going to pass this on to Michelle. She's put, can I ask for those that are taking VPL through no choice of their own? If it was to strike, will our leavers payment be affected? Is that something you could answer now, or is that something you'd have to come back to them on?
Right, Lisa, thanks for that question. If we do get to strike action, things will be affected. Your overall payment that you've agreed to sign up is not going to be, but if you're going to take strike action, there will be implications. I'm not exactly sure on the details of those implications, but it will affect us in some which way. But certainly once you've signed up for something, you've already made that agreement, and that can't be reneged. So just to clarify that. But in the meantime, if you're still looking for jobs, continue doing what you're doing. It's still a long way off before Canterbury closes and before January 2023.
Thank you, Michelle. People are asking that they want to get involved if it goes to strike. Can somebody explain about the rules on, I suppose, where we are with picketing and what the requirements would be, and are there any restrictions on us?
I'll pick that up, Martin. Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, clearly there are restrictions. I mean, there are a lot of restrictions on the whole process, both of balloting and taking action, and how you can do it, what notice you have to give the employer, and all those kinds of things. But suffice to say that before we get to anywhere like that, there would be plenty of information to make sure that we're not overstepping the mark. We're already feeling the squeeze on this. I mean, Nick's being very careful in what we're saying, and we all are. Even on a discussion like this tonight, there are so many regulations that, as you will all know, and the branches will have been tearing their hair out. We have those have got any left, which your guys seem to have quite a lot compared with some of us. But it's very, very difficult. You've got to get everything absolutely right. So they've had to be checking all of your addresses and your grades and all that kind of thing. And we've got to do it by a postal ballot, and it's got to be returned by post. We can't do it by an email ballot. We've got to tell the company and give them notice of what's going to happen. So we will be very squeaky clean to make sure that you all know exactly what you can and can't do. The last thing we want is 20 or 30 people turning up outside a particular place, and not only do we get the police call, but we also end up with an injunction and all the rest of it. So let's not get into too much detail of what we can and can't do at the moment. We will be very, very clear. It is almost a minefield as to what you can do nowadays. We have the government of the day decided it was a good idea to go down this route, and it's made us all very cautious of what we're doing. I get it that people would like to be involved. That's great to hear. The more people we've got pushing that way, but we don't know what we're going to get involved with yet. So let's try and answer that one a lot better than this at a point closer to when we need somebody to do something.
Thank you.
Martin, can I just jump in on the back of what
Certainly.
Dave said?
Certainly,
Yeah,
Michelle.
in terms of doing anything right now, you can be going on to Workplace if you have access to any internal systems, voicing your opinions, having conversations with your colleagues. If people aren't members, encourage them to join, and certainly get that conversation in the workplace going that you're a member, you're going to vote yes, you're not happy with pay, talk about the living crisis, let the workplace know that you have supported this company through a very difficult time and you're only supporting something that you believe in. So certainly get the buzz in the workplace going and keep the conversations alive about pay, because they're very important.
At the moment, it's the ballot that counts. It's the ballot that counts at the moment. And the first stage of involvement, we all need to get involved, is talking to colleagues at work and explaining the position to them. This is not just about pay. This is about the future we're going to have in BT, Openreach and EE. And if we don't do what we say we're going to do, the future is utterly dreadful. But if we do have a dispute, we'll try and avoid having a dispute. If we're going to win that dispute, it'll be the local efforts that really count. And people need to get involved. And we'll encourage people to get involved. And there'll be plenty, I assure you, there'll be plenty to do. And picket lines is one aspect of it that have to be organised and run according to the laws of the land and so on and so forth. So there will be plenty to do. So get involved. But the activity we need at the moment is lots of discussions in the workplace about getting a high turnout, a yes vote. So in the first instance, by doing so, we may actually avoid a dispute once they realise that we're really serious about what we're doing.
Thank you, Nick. What I'm going to do now is we're going to watch a short video, and it's Andy Kerr, Karen Rose, and Fiona Curtis, who leads for Openreach. So if you'd like to bear with us, we'll get to that video and see you shortly.
BT Group's annual report actually states Openreach tirelessly kept millions of UK connections running at a critical moment in history, so customers around the country could work from home, attend online lessons, and communicate with loved ones. And yet, this company are not willing to pay you a decent pay rise. Last year, £1,000 one-off payment was not a cost of living pay rise, and neither was the 1.5% you got the year before. So in reality, your pay is worth less now than it was in 2019. This company has made well over £1 billion in profit this year alone. This ballot is your chance to have a voice. Your say as to whether the pay rise BT has imposed is good enough.
What the company have done by deciding how much they wanted to give you as a pay rise and then imposing it without allowing you the opportunity to say whether you accepted it or not is they have completely, number one, disregarded your needs, because you quite clearly needed a far bigger pay rise in order to keep pace with cost of living, and they've disregarded your view.
Because we don't want next year and the year after and continually pay rises just to be imposed. We need to make sure that we have our voice, and as members and as employees of the company, we want to be able to have your say on what whether you agree to the pay rise and whether you accept the pay rise or not. It is so vitally important that we have that voice.
We need to return a massive yes vote, and then we will resolve this. If we return a massive yes vote, I am absolutely confident that we will move this company and we will get the pay rise that you have all earned, and you'll have less worries about whether you can meet the cost of living that we'll all see an increase on a daily rate at the moment.
The company did not allow you to have your say before they imposed the pay rise. A massive yes vote will be a message to the company that the pay rise is not good enough and their imposition is unacceptable.
You are a collective. You stand up for each other, with each other, and voting a massive yes vote in this ballot will be you making a stand for yourselves and saying we need a decent pay rise, We have earned it, we deserve it, and now we want it.
Get that ballot paper, put the cross in the box, put it in the post box, and convince every one of your work colleagues. Make sure they're voted too.
We are all the CW. The CW isn't somebody separate. We are all the CW, and we should all be in this together.
Thank you very much for watching that short video. Dave, Dave Booker, if you'd like to come back in.
Yeah, okay. Well, just thanks to everyone. Thanks to our guests tonight for giving up their own time to be on. I don't know how many viewers we've had or people contributing, but thanks to those. I mean, I'm guessing this will be available if people want to look back. It'll be somewhere in the ether, so that people can look at it if they didn't get a chance to log on tonight. But yeah, I suppose just a couple of points, really reiterate what's already been said. But on the point about not being able to afford to strike. But well, if you vote no, you're basically giving a message to the company, aren't you? That do what you like for pay over the next however many years, and as Nick said about even negotiating, well, we won't contemplate that. So it's basically giving a green light. If that's if that's where you vote, and you're giving a green light for that sort of attitude, and then we've really got nowhere to go. The only way, and I think Nick's made this point a couple of times, the only way to avoid striking, ironically, is to vote for strike, because you won't get the back round the table otherwise. And that's a weird but true point. The thing about people getting involved, and who can strike and all that, I mean, that's been clarified now. Basically, anyone. And on a positive point, we've had quite a few people joining in the last couple of weeks. Fully aware. I mean, over the that they were out of time to get a vote, but wanting to actually take part in in any action that we do decide to take. So that's a positive, and I think and that was also coming from a lot of from new employees, younger employees. I think there's been some talk about worries and concerns about their them partaking or whatever, but so that is a positive. But the most important thing really is to, like has been said already, to actually get a massive turnout. That's vitally important. So it's also to reiterate. I think we said at the beginning about there was something about the date. Just want to reiterate, the date is this Wednesday when the ballot papers go out. There was a typo right at the beginning, but that's been corrected now. That said 15th of July. But just to reiterate, it's this Wednesday, 15th of June. So you will be getting your ballot papers. If you have got any other questions, if you've got any other concerns, please get in touch with the branch. We'll try and do what we can to get answers for you. Any concerns that are raised, we'll get back to you as soon as we can on that. But yeah, just thanks to everyone. I don't know if anyone else wants to have a final say, but yeah, thanks for giving up your time.
Quick round robin. Michelle.
Vote yes.
Thank you. Nick?
I think we ought to vote yes. I'm convinced.
Thank you. Dave?
Well, I should hate not to carry on with the same thing. So, yes, I mean, this is a vote and it is about pay. We should be voting yes. If you let the people impose something on you, what are they going to impose next? So, let's get it done. Let's get it over and sorted out. We need that big turnout. We've got to have a big turnout. We've got to have a big turnout in all three of the companies that we're representing here. And we need the yes vote in there. So everybody's got to send it back. Everybody's got to vote yes. That's a longer version from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Much appreciated to all our guests tonight. Thank you very much. Julia Upton, as you saw, left us a nice message for all us to stick together and vote yes. I'm going to finish off tonight on another video. Thank you very much for all your time. If you have any questions, please email the branch and we will see if we can answer them for you. Wednesday, those votes will be hitting your doormat. So be as quick as you can, get them in, put the X in the box, put them in the post box. Good night, everyone, and thank you for listening. We'll play out on a video. Thank you.